Have you ever wondered why some people seem to succeed effortlessly while others struggle? What if I told you the secret to success lies within you? Today's story will reveal how discovering your own strengths and practicing with dedication can lead you to success. Stick around to the end, and let's explore how a young boy learned this powerful lesson. In a small, peaceful town lived a 12-year-old boy named David. He loved playing soccer, but when it came to school, especially math, David struggled. He tried his best, but his friend Matt always seemed to get perfect scores effortlessly. This made David feel frustrated and confused. Little did David know, a simple yet powerful lesson from his father would change everything for him. Once upon a time, in a quiet corner of a bustling city, David lived with his parents. He was a typical energetic 12-year-old boy who loved spending time outdoors, and his favorite hobby was playing soccer. Every day, David would head to the nearby field to play, practicing his soccer skills and improving with each game. He spent hours honing his craft, running, kicking the ball, and dreaming of one day becoming a great soccer player. But there was something that David couldn't seem to improve no matter how hard he tried: his math skills. Math had always been a challenge for him. He could never seem to grasp the concepts, no matter how much he studied or practiced. It was frustrating for him, especially because his friend Matt, who sat next to him in class, always seemed to do well in math. No matter what, Matt always aced his tests, and it felt like everything came so easy to him. One afternoon, David came home from school, feeling particularly upset. He slumped onto the couch, opened his math book, and stared at it with a frown on his face. He sighed deeply, his mind racing. He wasn't just upset about the poor grade on his math test. He was upset because he couldn't understand why Matt always seemed to get everything right. He looked over at the window, lost in thought. His father had just returned from working in the backyard and noticed his son's unusual behavior. He walked over to David and sat beside him, concerned. After a moment of silence, David's father gently asked him what was bothering him. David opened up, explaining how he had tried his best to improve in math, but it felt like he would never catch up to Matt. His father listened quietly, then decided to help David understand something important that would stay with him forever. David's father suggested they go outside to their small backyard garden, where the fresh air and shady trees would offer a peaceful place for them to talk. The garden had a calming atmosphere that always seemed to bring clarity. Once they settled in a comfortable spot, David's father began to explain 3 important lessons that would guide him in life. David, intrigued but confused, listened closely, wanting to understand what his father had in mind. The first lesson his father shared was simple yet profound. David's father asked him to invite Matt to play soccer with him the next day. David was eager to learn more, so he nodded and agreed to do what his father suggested. The next morning, the sun shone brightly in the sky, and David went to school with excitement. He couldn't wait for the afternoon to play soccer with Matt. When school ended, David invited Matt to join him for a friendly match on the nearby field. As they played, David easily dominated the game. He was fast, skillful, and scored 3 goals, leading his team to a great victory. Matt, on the other hand, wasn't very familiar with soccer and struggled to keep up. He lost the ball several times and made mistakes, but despite that, he was cheerful and enjoyed the game. Everyone had fun, but it was clear that Matt wasn't as good at soccer as David was. After the game, David hurried to meet his father in the garden, eager to learn what the first lesson meant. His father smiled and asked him how the game went. David excitedly told his father about his 3 goals, but he also mentioned how Matt had struggled with soccer. David's father nodded thoughtfully and explained, "Look at this, David. Matt may not be good at soccer, but he excels in math. Just as you struggle with math but excel at soccer, we are all different, and that's okay. We each have our own strengths and passions." David began to understand that not everyone had to be good at everything. He realized that everyone has their own talents, and it's okay to be different. His father then introduced the second lesson. He asked David to pay close attention to Matt the next day at school and observe how often Matt was working with numbers. David was intrigued and eager to complete his father's challenge. The next day, David kept a close eye on Matt and saw that Matt was always counting or working on math problems. Matt solved puzzles, calculated the change he received at lunch, and even counted the petals on a flower during recess. David noticed that Matt's love for math was evident in everything he did. That evening, David eagerly approached his father and shared his observations. David's father smiled warmly and explained, "That's the second lesson, David. Matt is good at math because he enjoys it and practices it often. If you want to get better at something, you have to practice. Just like you practice soccer, you can practice math too, and you'll get better. It doesn't always have to be difficult. Start small, like counting the petals on a flower, and work your way up." David understood. He realized that improvement came with consistent practice. Just as he had practiced soccer every day, he could practice math in small ways until he got better. With newfound motivation, David eagerly asked his father about the third lesson. His father thought for a moment before asking, "How much better do you think Matt is at math compared to you?" David paused, trying to figure out the answer. "I think Matt is about 3 times better at math than I am," David replied. His father then gave him the final challenge. "I want you to study math 3 times harder tomorrow than you usually do." David was nervous but determined. The next day, he sat down to study math with intense focus. He studied for an hour, then decided to push through and study for 2 more hours, tripling his usual effort. But after some time, David began to feel a sharp headache, and before he realized it, he fell asleep at his desk. His father gently woke him up for dinner and asked him to meet him in the garden afterward. David felt disappointed in himself. He told his father that he couldn't complete the challenge because he had overworked himself and ended up falling asleep. His father gently patted him on the head and said, "David, this is what happens when you try to master something you don't enjoy. It's hard to stay disciplined, but when you study something you love, it's easier. Just like you stay dedicated to soccer, discipline and consistency feel much lighter when you're passionate about what you're learning." David listened carefully to his father's words and realized that the secret to success wasn't just about working hard, but also about finding something you love. If you want to excel at something, you need to study what you enjoy or learn to love what you're studying. With a deep sense of admiration, David promised to carry these lessons with him for the rest of his life. David's journey teaches us an important lesson. Success comes when we embrace our strengths, practice consistently, and do what we love. We all have unique talents, and with dedication we can excel in whatever we set our minds to. If you found David's story inspiring, remember to embrace your own strengths and passions. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that will inspire you to reach your goals. Keep practicing, stay dedicated, and I'll see you in the next story.